What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Marie Fredriksson and her 1992 album Translating to the Constant Journey. And the next track, according to Google Translate, means Through a Broken Window. So it certainly gives us a visual image, and a broken window is a portal which has been fractured, which has been shattered. And of course, both of those concepts can have a lot of figurative meaning when they relate to people and emotions and interpersonal connections. But I suppose in one respect, going through a broken window is easier than going through an intact one. So there is a sense of greater, not just transparency, but a lessened physical limitation. Of course, if you're looking through a broken window, then it doesn't really matter that there's no substance in part of the frame, because it is more about perhaps the loss of integrity or something not being as pristine as it used to be. Now, again, I don't expect to have any insight here because I'm expecting this all to be in Swedish, which it feels like more than with Jelena Teeter, where we've had at least a handful of songs that have phrases, sometimes even like partial sentences in English. It feels like Marie's tracks are almost exclusively, or indeed are exclusively, in Swedish. So, as I said, I don't expect any insight here, but I look forward to people's comments. And yeah, let's give it a listen. This is Marie Fredriksson. The song translates to Through a Broken Window, according to Google Translate, and it's from her 1992 album that means The Constant Journey.
Genom ett krossat fönster ser jag ett mönster som ger mig smärta mer än jag tror. Genom ett krossat fönster ser jag en klarhet som öppnar ett hjärta där jag vill bo. Genom ett krossat fönster, kanske en tro som ger mig styrka, så jag kan ge dig lugn och ro. Genom ett krossat fönster tränger min själ för första gången. Förstår jag så väl.
Well, that was very short. Yeah, it was like, I guess it was a little longer than I thought. It was like 2.5 minutes, but it, like, I felt like we were maybe halfway through the journey and it ended. So yeah, a very evocative tune, a very intensely ambient tune, meaning there was ambient stylings. You know, it wasn't like a drum-driven track. It didn't have a percussive rhythm per se. It felt more soundscape, more soundtrack indeed, as I was listening to her incredible vocals, including a couple moments where she really had this resonance, and it made me think of a medieval or in antiquity type of scene, you know, standing on a hilltop looking down on some ancient village or city and hearing Marie's vocals pour over it. Now, I do wonder, again, about the lyrical themes, and perhaps there is a thematic indication for the scope or the intensity that comes across with the sonics and her vocals. But yes, that's like devoid of that context. That's where my brain went, that it was like this fantasy and or historical movie scene with a very wide scope type of visual. So yeah, I do wonder what's happening lyrically. I will say that's one of the more ethereal or like, again, like fantasy sounding tunes. It feels like it's way beyond the everyday life of, you know, modernity. It doesn't feel like a city song. It doesn't feel like a song that is about, you know, the rat race of going to work and coming home and paying bills. It feels like we're on some ethereal higher plane of emotional understanding. But I suppose that is, of course, again, my subjective brain hearing those vocals and that intense, and again, it was like ambient, but as the track neared the end, it was getting to the point where there was this like thick tension that felt, you know, like, man, if it's any more ambient, you know, my brain's just gonna break down. So it was a real tense and powerful ambient, which is not usually a two-word phrase that you use. But yeah, a really stunning tune from her vocally. I do wonder what it's about. Please let me know. And now we will be on to a Roxette reaction in this batch. And maybe my mouth and brain will work in better conjunction when we get there. Peace.